Hello, we're back doing some more work on the teleprinter. We've been doing a whole load of research and stuff. There's not been any work done on it since we last videoed any of it, but we've done some kind of background reading. Think we've got an idea about how we might drive this motor, because it needs 160 volts DC. Which, you know, we don't have a 160 volt DC power supply knocking around here, but yeah, we've got some ideas about how we can get that from the mains, and more of an idea about how the operation works and stuff like that. And I think we're going to continue to focus, initially at least, on the transmitter unit. So this has got all the keys on it. Normally we did a load of dismantling of this in the last video, and the idea is that we'll get this, strip it down a bit more, just make sure that the kind of mechanism's operating okay, because then we can start to reassemble kind of this bit and get all the keys back on, which will keep them safe. So we'll report in as the day progresses. We've been looking at the transmission unit in a bit more detail and operating the mechanism. So we can see there are a bunch of levers here, and they get activated in turn, and then the keys kind of hold some of these levers, these ones that can slide back and forth, and they've got a whole bunch of different pegs on them, and then when the keys are in place, when they go down, they'll stop, the pegs will stop the some of the levers here from sliding past the peg, and basically each of these ones that slide back and forth, if you can see here, I don't know if we can, no, there we go, you can see they kind of move with these other levers here, and these levers will either go down or they won't go down, based on whether it needs to be a mark or a space, which is a 1 or a 0 in the 5 different bits of information we need to send in the Bordeaux code. So normally this is actually, let me run it through this process and get it back to the standard kind of idle thing, and basically the motor would generally be driving this, so this would be just driving all the time and nothing's going on, and then eventually you will press one of the keys, and that would go down, and that pushes this lever down here, which kind of kicks off the operation from running through. So we'll now see that these levers will start moving as it goes through in step. There's a little cam inside here that lets each lever drop down one at a time, or combination of the cam and the position of these kind of sliding levers will let it either drop down or not, as to whether it wants to transmit a mark or a space to the other end. And so it's now going to try to move through. So that first one's done. Now the second one is started. This is the first bit, and that didn't drop. And the second bit also didn't drop all the way in. Ditto the third. And the fourth one's dropped down. And the fifth one have dropped down. Now, we were expecting the third one to have dropped down as well. And then it will all come back up and reset itself, and then the key would normally come back up. So not all of, 2 of those should have stayed up, because that's what the M character, that should be a, let's say, we should have had a drop, no, it should have stayed up, and then dropped, and we didn't quite get that. So we worked out, we've been doing some just holding it manually, so we can kind of take screwdriver and just stop one of these levers from sliding across, and that is the 4th bit that I'm holding there. So if we run it through again, kind of without doing the key, so that triggers the whole process to start, and we should see it, when it goes through these 5 levers, we should get it to drop, stay up, and then drop. So if I run through this operation, we should see that we get this drop, second one drops, third one drops, fourth one stays up because I'm holding this, or it's dropped now that I've moved the screwdriver, but that would have held it up, and then the last one will also drop because there's nothing to stop it, and then it comes back up, and the process is finished. So it's, yeah, like it's mostly working, but some of these levers, especially when you're using the keys to do holding it, if we hold it with just a screwdriver, kind of any combination, it's all working fine. Once we start using the keys, more often than not, it seems to kind of stick. So our next plan is going to be to kind of dismantle this section so we can give this a better clean. Like, it looked like it was, you know, these look like they're moving quite nicely, but they seem not to be when it's in proper operation. Like this bit seems to be working okay, which is good because we probably don't have to dismantle all of this. It's a bit stiff at the end, so we might look at that a bit later. But yeah, next step is going to be tearing all of this down so we can give it a good proper clean. Well, much disassembling has been done, as you can see. We have all of the combination levers out and cleaned. They all conveniently, I don't know how well you can see that, but have the number printed on them so you know which order to put them back into the machine, which will be quite handy. We have the main kind of block that is held in with just two big bolts that come through from the chassis that kind of hold that whole mechanism in place. So yeah, that's had a good strip down and clean. It also took forever. If I get a light, as you can see, it's going dark. And if I can hold that, hopefully where I can show you a bit better. There is a new, let me see, let me place that down there. And you can, yeah, just about make out this shiny new spring that that makes this mechanism kind of go in and out. That was an absolute nightmare. I have got an official RS spring hook replacement kind of kit that has these kind of, you know, funky hooks and things of varying types, but even with that, yeah, getting the new spring on down there was a bit of a saga, but it's on. So that's good. So the next step is to reassemble all of this, and we're probably not going to get a lot more done today, but yeah, that's figured I'd do a little bit just to show you what it's like when it's all disassembled, and now we shall start the reassembly. Final update for the night, as it's turned out to be. We have a reassembled transmitter unit, and all of these are kind of, you know, seem to be nice and smooth running and nicely oiled up and multiply reassembled, because yeah, there were a couple I reassembled it with the D key in the wrong place, which meant I had to disassemble almost all of it to be able to move the D key 2 spaces across to the right to get it into the right slot, and yeah, had these bars kind of in and out about 4 times I think in the end before I managed to, yeah, get it all assembled properly. But yeah, it's all now back in the kind of correct state that we found it in, I guess. But you know, a lot cleaner and smoother running, and with a slightly stronger spring on this, which is good. But the keys still don't actually work. If you apply any kind of pressure when it's running around, like you can see, it misses. If I just toggle that to start, okay, then you see that they all drop without any problems, and then it's back to kind of idle mode. And then if we press the D, which I don't know how well you can see, but there is, like, it should drop on this one, on this, let me get a screwdriver, that'll work a bit better. It should, if I get it into there, we can start it moving. It should drop, like this one should drop, and this one should drop, and these ones are held, kind of, there's the pegs there to stop it from going past the key. So we should get it to drop, stay up for 2 of them, drop, stay up, and then that's the stop bit. And if we run it round, we will see that these just all stay up for no obvious reason whatsoever. Maybe the springs need to be a bit stronger to kind of pull it across, because if we did it, Paul and I were kind of trying it out earlier, and if I applied any kind of pressure to the ones that are supposed to move, then they'd both just move and it would be okay. So yeah, maybe it just needs a bit more oiling and some more kind of run-throughs of operation, or maybe these springs are getting a bit old and tired and need to be a bit stronger. So who knows, we shall do some more investigating, and then yeah, back in a couple of weeks for part 3. You know, maybe we'll make some more progress then, rather than just, you know, cleaning it up and not really seeming to make very much progress whatsoever. But ho hum, these are, you know, onwards, and we've learned lots more about it, and we'll see where we get to next. Thanks for watching.